face spritzer.
Of course you did. Why didn't you get that on tape?
What the? You're rolling. For real.
Hi, I'm Eric with Rescued Oregon Timber. We're here to tell you a few interesting things about what we do. I work with two guys, Rob and Scotty. Every year has been a challenge, but it's been exciting. Every year we change. Every year we grow. It's what keeps us fresh and interesting and makes us dig deep to enjoy what we're doing. When I started doing this, I was working, and I did woodworking to relax, to get out of my head from the daily grind. I've retired. It's different. I do it because I enjoy it so much. Right now, I've carved over 200 bowls or items with the Arbortech turbo planer, and I'm thinking it's got another 200 the way it's going. So, just to start off, I'd like to tell you that in the beginning, I was scared of circles. Not only circles, but straight lines and squares and rectangles, ovals. I wouldn't go near them. But where I started out with the live edge stuff that dictated what I was doing. I didn't really have any input on the product. As you see behind me, there are other things that show that the wood didn't have any input, and it's something that we started out doing and came up with, like a circle, like a bowl. It's a progression that happens when you use these tools and you grow in confidence and skill. Enough about me, let's talk about what the topics are today. Today we're going to talk about how we source our wood, wet and dry carving or drying of wood, and epoxy plates. So that's a big part of what we're doing this year. We're going to do one a month. So here we go. This part's about sourcing wood, where to get the wood. There's a lot of options out there. We've associated ourselves with the Urban Lumber Network, specifically Urban Lumber Network West. Is where we source all our trees from the surrounding areas around Portland. We pick them up, we make something, sometimes we give something back to the owner, but there's a green aspect to it. Look them up. The second way that we source wood is I will actually go out and buy a block or two. There's two places that I'll buy it from. One is Gobi in Portland. The second one is Kumalea Hardwoods. They have koa and mango. So the difference is that these are expensive. The black walnut's expensive. These are free. These take a lot of work, but they provide a different type of wood. I have cherry, I have cedar, there's a black walnut over there. I don't know if it's in camera, but we get a lot, but we don't get the big logs. So from Gobi, I might get a 24-inch piece with no pith in it, and that's really good for carving. When I do it, I don't have a 40-inch log or 48-inch log. So, free versus buying. They both work out in the end. These are choices you make. Look up Urban Lumber Network West and Kumalea or Gobi if you're in the market for buying wood. You guys ready?
Wait, are we recording? Yep.
Okay.
Nope.
Okay, here we go. This is drying versus wet carving. First of all, there's no wrong answers, okay? When I first started, I was totally confused about all this. I went up to, I might say it wrong, but Ariel, Washington, and I took a class from the chief of the Laluska tribe. And he soaks the cedar before he carves these beautiful masks by hand. So they're beautiful, and he turned my thoughts upside down because he literally pulls that out of water that morning and then carves it. I thought it had to be kind of dry. I don't know. So here's what I do. Again, there's no wrong answer. So I start out with a block, I'll carve the inside, and I'll let them sit based on what I think is how much moisture they have. Sometimes I'll measure it, sometimes I won't. Sometimes I just get too dang excited and I have to carve it, and then as you can see in this one, you get a little bit of warpage in there. Is it wrong? Yeah. This one held together, there are no cracks. It's beautiful black walnut, but it warped a little bit. So that's okay, it happens. I just get excited about carving it and I just have to keep going. Wrong thing to do. It needs to sit a couple weeks and dry. Okay, so when you're carving, is dry wood better to carve than wet wood? Again, no wrong answer. Wet wood is softer, easier to cut. Hence, I cut the inside and let it sit because I get the bulk of the cutting done. Dry wood won't move as much if you carve it, so you know you're going to get the finished product without cracks or movement, meaning warpage. So, your call. I try and do both by carving the middle and letting it sit. Sometimes I'll carve the middle, let it sit for a while, carve the outside, especially on the bigger ones, because warpage on here is huge because it'll throw it off, and then I'll carve this out and I'll let it sit again. So that's where me having patience pays off, and when I don't have it, it really gets me. So this is 2 weeks on the inside, 2 weeks on the outside, and I can get going on it, and it feels pretty dry to begin with. So, a little slower carving when it's dry, a little better drying. A little more drying time when it's wet, a little easier. Your call. This segment's on epoxy plates. I want to tell you that we try and do something fun, and it usually means we don't know anything about it, and we're going to learn, and in learning we have the fun. When we started epoxy plates, the first one we did, we poured it and carved it out, and we had that same feeling that you have if you've ever slabbed wood. You know when you get done cutting the slab and you flip that slab over. It's the same thing when we get done and we put oil on these. It's really fun and exciting because it changes a little bit, and we're happy that we didn't screw it up and it succeeded. So these are our epoxy plates. We use the turbo plane, and we use the mini carver, and then we use the sander that fits right in here, and it works perfect. We pour them at 1 7/8. They end up at 1 5/8, about maybe 1 1/2. I'm not a big epoxy guy in the beginning, but I've turned. I think that we're still searching for the perfect bowl and the perfect plate, and I think we're going to find it. And we are figuring out the best colors, the best things to do. We'll take requests, but we found is that this can be the most exciting thing for us. And by pushing ourselves, we have more fun than anything else. It's one of the things we're going to do all year. We're going to do a series of 12, I think. Rob pours the epoxy. We have a mold. On the discussion portion, he'll be online to talk about it. Now we're down to the carving portion. So everyone can carve, I think, or wants to carve. How I start a block is I'll make circles, if it's round, of course, on both sides of the item. That way I have reference points. So I hope you can see them. But I will always carve out the center in graduating depths. So I'll do this and then I'll do that, and I'll stop here for drying. So I'm going to carve a little bit on this one. The most important thing for me to carve when I'm carving is to carve down and to carve out. I've already got this one to the outer lip, but to carve out here and not carve on the rim. The rim can always be adjusted at the very end. This is where you'll chunk out wood and have to change the overall depth. So stay away from the rim as much as possible. Carve here and carve on the sides. It's easier than you think. You just stay away from the rim. Okay, I will always wear my glasses. So there's an example of carving on the inside of the rim. It's a light hand. I turn the bowl often, stay away from the rim, work right about there, and you can be a success. So the other part of the bowl that's important is the bottom. Okay, so when you get done with the inside and you let it sit for a while to dry, you need to do this side. So I made this little piece here that'll sit. Who took my clamp? There it is. There we go. So I put it right here and I work on the outer edge and I use my leg to hold it. And this way I can turn it easily. I'm not clamping and unclamping or doing anything. I can give you a quick demo of that. So I'm working right here, and again, I'm staying away from the rim as much as I can until I need to after I get this done. Again, if this chunks out at this point, I'm in a whole big mess. So I get all this done, and then I'll come up here and I might use the mini planer to get this edge, or I might do it for the inside edge when I'm a little further along. So it's a lot easier to do it at the end. And I've learned that through multiple bowls that chunked out on me. It only takes a few, you'll get it. Enjoy your carving and ask us any question you have in the next session. Follow us at Rescued Oregon Timber on Instagram. We're also on Facebook.